Before anything moves, before anything changes, there is the one who is watching. You. Not the name you carry, not the roles folded into your pockets, but the quiet witness standing behind your eyes, breathing softly, listening to the hum beneath the noise. Life begins there, like a book that does not open itself until someone turns the page. For years, you may have believed the story was fixed, ink already dry, chapters locked in sequence. But the truth is gentler and far more mysterious. The page waits for your attention. And attention is not passive. It is a hand hovering over water, changing the ripples without ever touching the surface. This is the observer loop, the endless circle where you watch the world and the world quietly reshapes itself around the way you watch. Most people never notice it. They stand inside the river of time complaining about the current, never realizing they are leaning in a direction that bends the flow. They say, "This is just how life is. This is who I am. This always happens to me." And with each sentence, the loop tightens. Reality listens, not like a judge, not like a tyrant, but like soil listening to the shape of roots. What you expect, you water. What you fear, you rehearse. What you assume as permanent learns how to stay. The observer loop does not punish, it mirrors. It reflects back the posture of your attention. And for a long time, you may have watched life through cracked glass, memories like smoke curling around your thoughts, old disappointments whispering their lines on repeat, future worries casting shadows before they arrive. So you watched for danger, for loss, for confirmation that the world would break your heart again. And the world, so eager to agree, played its part. Not because it is cruel, but because it is responsive, like a stage that rearranges its lights based on where the actor stands. But one day, often quietly, often without fireworks, something shifts. You pause, between one thought and the next, between an old reaction and a new breath. And in that pause, you notice something startling. You are not inside the story. You are reading it. The observer loop cracks open in that moment, like ice breaking at the end of winter. Not loud, not violent, just inevitable. You realize you have been watching your life as if it were happening to someone else, as if the pain were proof, as if the patterns were destiny. And suddenly, you step back, just a fraction, enough to feel the space between the watcher and the watched. That space is freedom. It feels unfamiliar at first, like standing without armor, like setting down a bag you forgot was heavy. Your thoughts slow, not because you force them, but because they no longer need to shout to be heard. You begin to notice how often you narrate your own life, how every moment comes with commentary. This won't last. This is too good. I always mess this up. Each sentence a brushstroke, each belief a color you keep choosing without realizing you can change the palette. Breaking the observer loop does not mean controlling reality. It means releasing the grip you didn't know you were clenching. It means watching without rehearsing the ending, listening without translating everything into fear, feeling without immediately naming the wound. And the moment you do, reality responds immediately. Not with thunder, not with miracles, but with softness. Opportunities appear where walls once stood. Conversations feel lighter, as if words no longer carry armor. Time stretches. Moments breathe. You notice how sunlight rests on ordinary things, how silence is not empty, but full of permission. Your heart, once a fragile lantern shielded from every gust, begins to glow without apology. You stop asking, why does this keep happening to me? And start wondering, what am I noticing right now? The difference is subtle, but everything turns on that. Because attention is the doorway. What you place it on grows limbs. What you withdraw it from softens and fades. Old patterns lose their gravity when you stop orbiting them. Fear dissolves when you look at it without feeding it a future. Even pain changes shape when it is witnessed without resistance. It becomes information, not identity. A weather pattern, not the sky. Breaking the observer loop is not about becoming positive. It is about becoming present. Presence is honest. It allows grief. It allows joy. It allows not knowing. But it refuses to live in borrowed time, replaying the past or pre-suffering the future. When you stand in presence, life meets you there. Not where you are hurt, not where you are afraid to go, but here, now, where breath is real, where choices are still warm. The world feels different because you are no longer projecting yesterday onto today. You stop mistaking memory for prophecy. You stop confusing familiarity with truth. And slowly, almost shyly, reality opens its hand. It shows you that it has always been listening, that it was never asking you to be perfect, only awake. The observer loop breaks the moment you stop watching life as something to survive and start witnessing it as something unfolding with you, not against you, with you. This is why change feels immediate, because the shift is not external, it is perceptual. And perception is the lens through which all experience passes. Change the lens and the light reorganizes itself. You begin to trust the intelligence of the moment. You let go of forcing outcomes, of gripping the wheel with white-knuckled certainty. You allow life to surprise you. And it does. Gently. Like water finding a new path around a stone that no longer resists. You realize you were never trapped, only watching from a narrow angle. And now, the angle widens. The story breathes. The next page turns without struggle. And at the end of it all, the insight is simple and profoundly kind. You are not here to predict your life. You are here to experience it, not as a judge, not as a victim, but as a conscious witness whose presence alone changes the scene. So soften your gaze. Let the moment meet you without expectation. Trust that awareness is already enough, because once you stop watching reality through the lens of fear, reality stops reflecting it back. And in that quiet exchange, life becomes lighter, clearer, and unmistakably yours.